Welcome to Pique Your Interest, your go-to podcast for all things mortgage and real estate. Hosted by Tanner Greenwald and Tim Milauskas. We bring you expert insights to help you buy, sell, and invest with confidence. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to Pique Your Interest. I'm your host, Tim, and today we're going to talk about something I call becoming an accidental landlord. So let's say you bought a house, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Back when interest rates were a little bit lower, you've got a 3% or a 4% interest rate, and it just physically pains you to think about not having that mortgage. But in the meantime, you've outgrown that space. You've had, a kid or two, you work from home now, you need more room, and, maybe you're looking in a different school district or something like that. But regardless, you can't stay in the home that you have now. So what do? This is what I call becoming an accidental landlord. So, a lot of times people don't want to get rid of that mortgage, and that's totally understandable. And so what then happens is you become a landlord at that property. And like the second that I suggest this to people, I get, feedback like, hey, I will never be able to afford buying another house and maintaining this house at the same time. My debt to income ratio, my DTI would just be way too high and you would never approve me. And, if we were just looking at your W-2 income and counting the current mortgage debt that you have and the future mortgage debt for the next house, that would be true. But there are rules in place. There are scenarios in place where you could rent out your current home, not have to count that mortgage payment against you, and be able to buy the next house. And so that's what we're going to kind of dive into a little bit today. So, the first thing is, again, you're not going to be qualifying with both mortgage payments counting against you. And, the way that you do that is you can rent out your current home. Now there's a paper trail that's required. You can't just say, hey, my buddy's going to rent this house for, $3,000 a month or something. And we're like, oh yeah, that's cool. That works. That's not how it works. So there has to definitely be a paper trail. So let's play out a scenario. Let's say you have a mortgage payment that's like $2,000 a month and market rent in your area is like $2,800. What happens is, you'll have to get a lease signed by all parties, you, the tenant, everyone, that says, I'm going to rent this property out. I'm going to rent it to this person. It's going to be for this duration. And here's the amount that I'm going to receive monthly. So let's just use round numbers for the sake of making this easy. So let's say you have a $2,000 mortgage payment. You're going to rent your house out for $2,800. Well, what happens is Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac take into account, a vacancy rate, repairs that you need to make on the house, just general maintenance overall, getting between tenants and things like that. So there's a vacancy rate of 25%. So what that means is you can use 75% of the total leased amount to help offset your mortgage payment. So, again, using those same round numbers, $2,800 rental, 75% of that's $2,100. That $2,100 is greater than the $2,000 mortgage payment that you have. Therefore, you could offset that payment. So now when an underwriter looks at your file, they're not looking at, they've got this $2,000 payment and now they're going to have this $3,000 new mortgage payment. Oh my gosh, they're spending $5,000 a month on housing. Where is that money going to come from? It's okay, that original debt, that original mortgage is covered with the rental that they're receiving. They can go buy this next house and they qualify carrying both mortgages because of that rental income that you're using to offset. And again, there has to be a paper trail. There has to be a lease. You have to collect a security deposit and first month's rent. You have to show that those are in your bank account. You can't, if you've never had a history of renting out properties before, you can't use that extra amount that you receive on top of the rental amount as income. So in the scenario that we just played out where you're getting that $2,100 versus the $2,000 mortgage payment, you do not add another $100 to your income. It's just offsetting the mortgage payment. If you don't have the experience of being a landlord, you don't get to reap the benefit of that extra income, but in this case, it's only $100, so it's not a huge deal. I don't ever want somebody to think, oh, I can't go buy the next house because I have this one challenge. There are a lot of ways around the challenges, and that's actually one of the things that I really like about this industry is there are challenges, yes, but most of them are surmountable. Most of them are things that we can do to help you out in a situation. And, it takes talking to a mortgage expert to know that something like this exists. So don't ever think that, oh my gosh, I've got this mortgage payment, I can't afford another mortgage payment on top of that. There's ways around that if you talk to someone who knows the rules, and these things are specifically built for very specific situations, and this happens to be one of those things. So it's a really useful tool to use when you don't want to get rid of your current mortgage. You want to buy the next house. Again, you need the size, you need the space, you need the school district, whatever it is. There are ways around it. So, let's collaborate. Let's talk about, what scenario you're facing. Let's go through all the things and figure out what makes the most sense, what you can and can't do. And I think once you have more information, you are better able to make good decisions. So that's what we're here for. If you have any questions or you need anything, you want to talk through, hey, Tim, I'm kind of outgrowing my space. What do I do now? Let's have that conversation. I think the sooner we start, the better off you are. And again, there's a lot of challenges out there, but I think we can handle a lot of those challenges if we start working together on it. So bring your challenges to me. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.